Today, we're diving into one of the most ambitious stadium transformations in Dutch football history. PSV Eindhoven's staggering plan to rebuild the Philips Stadion from the inside out. With a waiting list of 22,000 fans unable to buy a season ticket, a €400 million investment on the table, and a 2030 completion target, PSV is about to transform their historic home from the third largest stadium in the Netherlands into the biggest football venue the country has ever seen. Let's get started. History and context. The Philips Stadion stands not just at the heart of Eindhoven, it stands at the heart of PSV's entire identity. The story begins not with football, but with industry. In 1910, the Philips Electronics Company built an entire neighborhood on the outskirts of Eindhoven to house its expanding workforce. Philipsdorp, or Philips Village, a purpose-built community of homes, schools, and social facilities. Central to that vision was a sports park, and it was there that the Philips Elftal played their very first match on January 15, 1911. 2 years later, that informal side was formalized. On August 31, 1913, Philips Sport Vereniging (PSV) was officially founded, and the ground became the club's home from day one. The first permanent structure appeared in 1916, a 550-seat wooden stand funded by Philips to celebrate the company's 25th anniversary. By 1941, PSV had enclosed the ground on all four sides, adding a running track and pushing capacity to 18,000. The Second World War interrupted everything. Eindhoven was bombed and the stadium damaged, but by 1958, a rebuilt ground held 22,000 supporters and 4 new 40-meter floodlights made evening football possible for the first time. The 1970s brought the first genuinely modern overhaul. A major rebuild began in 1969 and was completed by 1977, creating a fully enclosed, covered stadium holding 26,500 fans. It coincided with PSV's rise as a European force. The club reached the European Cup semi-final in 1976, and by 1988, they were champions of the continent, defeating SL Benfica on penalties in Stuttgart with Ruud Gullit, Ronald Koeman, and Romario in the squad. That same year, a rebuilt South Stand introduced luxury VIP boxes inspired by American stadiums at a cost of 40 million Dutch guilders. The ground was formally renamed Philips Stadion in 1990, reflecting a sponsorship arrangement Guinness World Records has since recognized as the longest in sporting history. The final phase of modernization came in the late 1990s and early 2000s, when corner sections were completed between 2000 and 2002, creating the enclosed bowl that exists today at 35,119 seats. The stadium hosted 3 UEFA Euro 2000 group stage matches and the 2006 UEFA Cup final, a high watermark for the venue's European profile. Today, Philips Stadion holds 35,119 supporters, the third largest football stadium in the Netherlands, behind Ajax's Johan Cruyff Arena at 55,865 and Feyenoord's De Kuip at 51,117. Despite 26 Eredivisie titles and a European Cup, PSV's home sits roughly 20,000 seats behind their biggest domestic rivals. That gap has become impossible to ignore. The problem: the mismatch between PSV's stature and their stadium has never been more stark. The club sells all 35,000 seats as season tickets and still cannot meet demand. More than 22,000 fans are currently on the waiting list, predominantly younger supporters who have grown up watching PSV in the Champions League but have no realistic prospect of attending a match at the current ground. The financial implications are equally clear. PSV posted a record total turnover of €152 million in the 2023-24 season, driven by Champions League participation and sellout match days. However, the club is now operating at its maximum revenue ceiling at 35,000 capacity. There is no commercial room to grow without more seats. Ajax's 55,865-seat Johan Cruyff Arena and Feyenoord's De Kuip at 51,117 give both rivals a structural advantage in European home revenue and hospitality income that PSV simply cannot match at their current scale. Market research commissioned by PSV confirmed that sustainable visitor demand for matches could reach 55,000 to 60,000 per match by 2040. In October 2023, the club appointed consulting agency Hypercube to assess all available options, including relocation. By April 2024, Hypercube's conclusion was unambiguous. The Philipsdorp location is the optimal base. Demographic projections show fan base growth potential of 5% through 2030 and 10% through 2040 at the existing site. The stadium belongs in the heart of Eindhoven. The challenge is making it bigger. The plan. PSV's expansion is not a conventional redevelopment. It is a comprehensive architectural transformation. Estimated to cost between 350 million euros and 450 million euros, it represents the largest stadium investment in the Netherlands in modern history. Capacity is projected to rise from 35,119 to between 52,000 and 60,000 seats, with market analysis pointing to 55,000 as the most likely final figure, surpassing Ajax's Johan Cruyff Arena and making Philips Stadion the largest football venue in the Netherlands for the first time in PSV's history. The approach is dictated by the site. The stadium sits in a dense urban environment flanked by a railway line and the historic streets of Philipsdorp. Horizontal expansion is simply not feasible. The solution, developed with architectural consultants including Sweco, is vertical. A new outer shell constructed around the existing stadium on all four sides, incorporating a third tier of seating and a unified new facade across the entire ground. The centerpiece of that new exterior is a colonnade, a continuous walkable structure at ground level surrounding the stadium, framed by greenery and designed to harmonize with the architectural character of the historic Philipsdorp neighborhood. On non-match days, it functions as a public civic space linking Eindhoven city center with the Stripe-esque creative district to the west. Above the colonnade, the third tier rises on all four sides simultaneously, eliminating the height differences between individual stands and creating what PSV's design team has described as a football cathedral, a single coherent structure where four separately built sections once stood. One particularly significant element of the four-sided approach is its finality. Because all four stands are addressed in a single project, further expansion will be technically impossible given the urban footprint. Once complete, Philips Stadion is at its definitive maximum scale, meaning the design must correctly anticipate demand through 2040 and beyond. The stadium's commercial offer will be transformed in parallel, with expanded premium hospitality, corporate facilities, and supporter amenities joining the existing 1,186 business seats, 3 restaurants including the Michelin-starred Avant-Garde, and a PSV museum. Timeline and financials. The timeline for this project is ambitious. PSV and the municipality of Eindhoven signed a formal letter of intent in November 2025, with Mayor Jeroen Dijsselbloem, PSV Chief Executive Marcel Brands, and Alderman Stijn Steenbakkers all putting their names to the agreement. Preferred concept designs were publicly presented in March 2026. Detailed financial modeling will continue through 2026, with external financing and loans expected to form a significant portion of the funding model, alongside municipal cooperation, a civic partnership rooted in the 2011 land agreement under which PSV sold the ground beneath the stadium to Eindhoven for 48.4 million euros under a leasehold running until 2051. Construction is targeted to begin in 2027, with a completion target of 2030, a 3-year window that club officials have themselves described as ambitious. PSV will continue to play all home matches at Philips Stadion throughout, with work sequenced in phases to minimize disruption. The financial case is compelling. Expanding to 55,000 seats would increase matchday attendance by approximately 57%. Industry projections for comparable European expansions suggest matchday revenue could grow by 15 million euros to 20 million euros per season once new capacity is fully operational, an uplift that would significantly reduce PSV's dependence on player sales and strengthen their ability to compete in the Champions League on a sustained basis. And that's the full story of PSV Eindhoven's extraordinary ambition to transform the Philips Stadion from the third largest stadium in the Netherlands into the largest football venue the country has ever seen. At up to 450 million euros, it is the most ambitious stadium investment in Dutch football history, a final form expansion designed not just for 2030, but for the next generation of supporters currently locked out by a 22,000-strong waiting list. One thing is certain, when this project is complete, Dutch football will never look the same again. What do you think about PSV's expansion plans? Can they deliver the Netherlands' largest stadium and hit that 2030 target? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss anything, and click here to watch our deep dive into the new world's largest stadium, Vietnam's Trong Dong Stadium. See you there in a second.